So far we've called this the enclosure terrace because we have an enclosure for the asparagus, but we don't really like that name, so we are going to rename it the Mulberry Terrace after the mulberry tree that we're planting today. Right, turn the water on.
It wasn't until about 12 years ago that I tasted or even saw my first mulberry. It's like a big giant raspberry, blackberry thing, and it oozes juiciness. My friend Maggie, who you've seen in other videos, she lived in a house that had a mulberry tree and a fig tree. And when she sold that house, I said to her I would try and take a cutting of the mulberry tree and the fig tree so that she could replant them in her new house. And although we had great success with her fig, I'm afraid the mulberry didn't happen.
We need to sing.
And dance.
Yeah.
Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. We go round the mulberry bush.
We have a Goumi and a Japanese pepper to plant.
This in the purple container. That's my creature stick. We want to extend this whole patch, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. That's a nice wee mush. Japanese pepper, Goumi berry. It's been exceptionally windy all week, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this plant. It's Japanese pepper as opposed to the Szechuan pepper, and this one is Xanthoxylum pepperetum as opposed to the one we were searching for, which is Xanthoxylum simulans. These little leaves are all edible, and we've already eaten them, but just as a sort of a refreshment. They start off with a citrusy, zingy flavour. It's really quite nice. And then, instead of what you might expect, something peppery and hot, it actually goes into a kind of a mentally cool, lifting, cleansing feeling in your mouth. When I say menthol, I don't mean like medicine type of menthol, but just that lovely cooling aftertaste. So that's it. We're going to get planting. Sorry again about the wind. It's almost impossible to film anything this week. And by the way, we're still on the hunt for the Szechuan pepper. We never can have enough plants.
So I've been to the woodyard this morning and picked up a load of pine bark.
Some of you have asked where we're getting our secret warehouse stash of cardboard from. So let me tell you the story. Yesterday we were in Lidl and we had this great idea. We would ask Lidl if they could give us their cardboard. So I spoke to the lady and she said, yeah, you can have the cardboard. What you need to do is to come back tomorrow morning before 8 a.m. Dan and I got up early this morning and Dan went in to get the cardboard. Super excited for this full load. So Dan came back with this look of defeat on his face because he got all the cardboard, and let me show you. Here it is. One box. So we'll go back to our original method of collecting cardboard, which is by the bins, asking people to keep us cardboard, and the final one is we go to our local agricultural store and pick up once a week. Well, we've got a couple of places we can use the wood chip for the little bit of cardboard that we've got this today.
Yeah.
And then the rest will go on the tarp. So I've got some plants in here that are coming. I think it's Chinese artichokes that we got from Gary through Chris and Yuan at Frankie Off Grid. So giving them a chance to come through before there's any more mulch. Took an aeonium from the house and planted it here because I have lots. I wish you could smell these. Just so gorgeous. Like roses are supposed to smell. non-stop play.
You're getting drips on.
So we've had a few days off this week, and what we've been doing is just seeing some of our local sites and just enjoying days together. And we went to a market and we said, right, well, whatever we do, we're not going to look, we're going to enjoy whatever foods there are on offer, but we're not looking at plants. However, I'm afraid I looked at plants, and I've come away with some really, really excellent plants. So I've got a Vietnamese coriander, a couple of little tobacco plants. I got 2 hibiscus plants. Now there are many, many different types of hibiscus, but I'm told this is the one for hibiscus tea. But time will tell. And I'm going to plant these in the vegetable garden, most of them anyway, because as you can see, everything grows extremely well in here because of the tree coverage and the shade that we've got. It's just fantastic here. So we'll get on with planting those, and then we'll do some other stuff.
So this is a gooseberry bush that we planted nearly 2 years ago, and it struggled last year in the heat, and it really hasn't come back alive this summer. If things don't do well, they'll replace it with something different. So from our trip to the bonsai studio, we bought a Goumi berry. It's a fruit producing shrub which also fixes nitrogen into the soil. So I hope this is going to fill up this space nicely, put nitrogen into the soil to help all the other plants and trees around it. And hopefully the fruit tastes good. We've never had a Goumi berry before. Reportedly they taste good, but I guess that's all a matter of opinion.
So to tell you a little story about how we got all these bushes, we need to go back in time a little bit and back to the rental house, and we'll show you what happened there. So we managed to get our hands on a Japanese pepper, not quite Szechuan, but it also has really good fruits that turn into peppers. But I bought it as a bonsai, so I'm freeing the bonsai. This little tree is 6 or 7 years old. And I also have a second one. Hello. So we've got 2 of these, and we managed to buy these from, can you remember the name of the company?
Kensho Bonsai Studio.
There you go, Kensho Bonsai Studio, which is near Aviro. A wonderful addition to the food forest. Can you imagine buying a bonsai so you can free it and turn it into a big tree again after years of tending it to keep it small? Right, I'm trying to just get these moistened up again into a small pot in the interim. And Aviro is much warmer than it is here, and they've been kept under cover. So I'm going to keep them on the veranda here for probably until the autumn. Thinking they have to be bonsai for their life. Now you're free. Saved. Grow into a tree. As much and all as I love bonsai, it was quite funny when we went there. So Marcio wanted to know, there was another plant we bought, a Goumi berry, which is a great nitrogen fixer, and he was the only person we could find in Portugal who supplied them. And we got there about 10-15 minutes before he closed. And he said, yeah, go ahead. He was dealing with another customer, and he told us to go ahead and have a look. So we looked around his magnificent collection of very mature bonsais. And of course, I didn't look too closely because I would love to have those bonsais. We came back and he said, oh, did you find them? I says, no. I says, I don't know what they look like. And he says, but what do you want them for? I said, to grow in our food forest. He said we would have all of them. I said, I'm sure you have a mother tree to take cuttings from, but he didn't. So he asked if he could keep one, and we agreed.
So this plant actually already has a Goumi berry on it. It's not ripe just yet, and these have to be very ripe before you can eat them. Growing nicely. Time to give it some more space. and freedom to grow. Free the bonsai. So if you've got a hose lying out in the sun, you got to remember the water inside is going to be hot. Yeah, this is too hot to wash my hands under. So you really cannot put this anywhere near a plant. But I'm using it now to wet the cardboard down that's going to go around the Goumi berry. It's cooled down nicely now, so that'll be safe for the plants. Not sure we should plant this a bit higher.
I'll take it out again. So Dan thought last year we would run an experiment and plant squash in and around the food forest to be more efficient with water and for ground cover. So we've got some beans up around this little persimmon to hopefully give it a little... We've got... I have a persimmon on the brain. Up around this pomegranate that keeps dying back. It started off this height, last year it grew to this height, and this year now it's this height. It's an incredible shrinking tree. It's not a big issue. If it grows this year, that'll be grand. It isn't grafted, it's growing from its own rootstock. So it'll eventually be pomegranate. We do like pomegranates. Actually, we like everything. The idea is that when we come and water this particular tree, we're watering around the edge, and the squash and the beans will also get the benefit of the same amount of water. So we'll see how that goes at the end of the year. These are butternut squash that I planted from seed, saved seed from last year's harvest. So we're just gonna cover these in a little bit of compost and some straw.
So this comfrey down here is not doing very well in this position. So we're going to move it down and put it next to the mulberry tree. Planting our third pomegranate tree in the corner of the asparagus enclosure, mainly so we don't have to spend any extra effort in protecting it. And we want a bit more tree coverage down here. We want to fill this out, provide a little bit more shade, and hopefully this pomegranate is going to grow properly.
And this one has blossom. Look, it is a wee bit juicy, but the truth is in the tasting. Not quite sweet enough yet. I chopped off the big long branch because it was a bit uneven, unbalanced, but it's looking good. And yeah, now we've got lots of things planted here. More to water. Water's on.
We've got some sage here that we're just managing the size of this bush here a little bit, and we're going to have a burnt butter sage gnocchi. So our Welsh onions have been doing rather well this spring. They're just starting to go to flower. We use these anywhere you might use a spring onion. We have a little cucumber here to eat. Might as well eat these small because we're going to have hundreds of courgettes in a couple of weeks.
This vine was planted about 18 months ago, and last year we got I think there were 3 passion fruits, but we ended up with 2. Oh look, more of them, and there's hundreds this year. So this is quite the difference. But the best thing about this, it is almost now 2/3 covering the ugly wall. Can't wait to eat these. They're everywhere.
We've had 33.5 millimetres of rain in an hour today. And I've just come over here to pick one of the kohlrabi so we can have carpaccio of kohlrabi for dinner. That's going to make a fantastic little starter. We need a little bit of this thyme to go with our kohlrabi, and we also need a lemon, so let's go and find a lemon. That's thin slices of kohlrabi with lemon thyme, lemon juice, lemon zest, olive oil and a little bit of parmesan. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video of our last month's planting. And we will see you next time.